For many Americans, eating healthier would be a top New Year's resolution. And one expert says we should start by eliminating gluten. Dr. David Perlmutter claims eating foods high in carbohydrates causes brain inflammation and can trigger neurological disorders like anxiety, depression, and ADHD. Perlmutter revised and updated his best-selling 2013 book, Grain Brain, The Surprising Truth About Wheat, Carbs, and Sugars, Your Brain's Silent Killers. But in a statement to CBS This Morning, the Sugar Association says this: it believes that sugar is best enjoyed in moderation, and decades of research support this fact. Dr. David Perlmutter, good morning. Join us to the table. I have to say I'm on the side of the sugar people. Because, listen, when I was reading your book, I have to tell you this. I was reading your book. That night for dinner, I'd had truffle pasta because truffles are in season. And I had a raspberry filled donut for dessert. And I'm doing all the things wrong that you say not to. That's an anomaly. I don't normally eat that badly. But I was doing all the things that you say don't do. Because you're saying we shouldn't eat grain at all if we want to have a healthy brain.
Actually, let me first comment on the sugar issue. I mean,
please.
We should definitely believe the sugar industry, like we should have believed the tobacco industry years ago when they told us that smoking cigarettes were good for our health. Mm-hmm. But, you know, to have some grain, if it's gluten-free, is not going to be the end of the world. It's the total carbs that we're really interested in. It was interesting how the last segment on junk food affecting your sleep, that's directly threatening to brain function the next day and long term. And, you know, I think it's really important to understand that the choices we make today while we're younger are going to have an effect on the brain as we get older. And once that happens, there's actually very little we can do. So prevention is the mantra of the day.
Well, you say you've heard of a cancer survivor. You've never heard of an Alzheimer's survivor. And it starts really in our 20s and 30s.
That's
the
right.
Changes that we should
you
be
know
making.
How incredible it is that the Journal of the American Medical Association just last month published a review of the so-called Alzheimer's medications and indicated that not only do they not work, but they actually are associated with more rapid cognitive decline. So we really have to emphasize prevention, and we have that understanding now.
You're suggesting that grain causes Alzheimer's?
I'm suggesting that sugar and high carbohydrates is absolutely related to Alzheimer's, and not just that Dr. Perlmutter on your program is suggesting that, but that's what our most well-respected peer-reviewed journals are telling us, and that's the inconvenient truth that we need to really talk about.
So the Alzheimer's Association said, who doesn't have the same kind of relationship, I don't think, that the one you were suggesting with the sugar folks, says this about you. Perlmutter cites preliminary research and dietary guidelines that may have value for some health conditions, but cannot be applied with any certainty to Alzheimer's or other dementias.
Well, you know, when you're getting a statement from an organization that is supported by makers of so-called Alzheimer's drugs, that sort of mentality is not surprising. The bottom line is we know Alzheimer's is, to a great extent, a preventable disease, and a disease for which we have no treatment. So my mission, and it has been for decades, to really get that information out to you and the rest of the world, that our lifestyle choices are fundamentally important in terms of determining your brain's destiny. So, you know, the idea of waiting for a magic pill, there's nothing on the horizon. So.
But don't you agree that the Alzheimer's Association would want to do everything possible to eradicate the disease?
I think that they would, and I would agree with you. And I think that the understanding that lifestyle choices are really very, very important is something that they've not fully embraced as yet. That's my mission.
So what is the lifestyle choice that somebody needs to make immediately to avoid the
biggest issue? Sugar. And how incredible that we led the segment with talking about sugar. That is, according to the New England Journal of Medicine, something that powerfully relates to increased risk for Alzheimer's disease. I want to be real clear.
What type of sugar?
Simple sugars, anything that's going to raise your blood sugar, as they published way back in, that I put in the first edition of Grain Brain in 2012, that there's a perfect correlation between even subtle elevations of your blood sugar well below the range of diabetes and future risk for becoming an Alzheimer's
You talk
patient.
about the connection between diabetes and Alzheimer's that I thought was interesting.
Yes, if you become a type 2 diabetic, you may have quadrupled your risk for this disease, did I say has no treatment? So
You'll probably have a heart attack, though, before you get Alzheimer's.
well, I mean, I don't know if that's good news or bad news, but why increase your risk for either of those issues?
when
you
you
really
talk-
want to do your best to reduce risk. That's what
Can
prevention
I
is
ask you to
all about.
respond to Dr. David Katz, who is at Yale University, prevention researcher, well-regarded
Yes.
scientist there. And
I agree.
he said, I also find it sad that your book is filled with a whole bunch of nonsense, that it's misleading people, suggesting that there is a magic cure for something as complex as Alzheimer's.
The book doesn't even address the cure for Alzheimer's. That's his where he got sidetracked. I have a lot of respect for him. People, with all due respect, tend to be down on what they're not up on, and the book has everything to do with prevention. So, if somebody says about treatment of Alzheimer's, that's not what Grain Brain is about.
So quickly, 3 simple steps you can make to
Great.
change.
Get the sugar out of your diet. Increase your dietary fat. Who knew? Fat is your friend.
Good fat.
Exercise.
Eat. We'll get there, but eat things like olive oil, nuts and seeds. Fat was taken off the table, as we know, for the wrong reasons 30 years ago. Reality is your brain needs fat. Your brain is 70, not just your brain. I'm not picking on you. But
Eggs, avocado.
eggs. Remember the dreaded egg?
Yes.
You shouldn't eat eggs
What's
because
the third thing?
aerobic extras. You don't have to have Cardi B on your team. You can do it on your own.
Thank
Gotta do it.
God. Thank you, Dr. Perlmutter.
Exercise, Dr. Perlmutter. We got to go, but exercise is key.
You bet.
That's right. The revised and updated Grain Brain is out today.